What's up, everybody? This is Joy, and welcome back to another episode of Oh How Joyous. I'm talking about bad news today, and what we do when we receive bad news. It reminds me of one of my favorite movies, The Wiz. I absolutely love The Wiz. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. I bought mine on Apple TV, so I can just keep running it back. You know what I mean? Anyway, I'm talking about The Wiz because I got some bad news, and it got me thinking about what we do when we get bad news and the best ways to handle bad news. Character in the movie named Evillene, right? And so she has this whole song about how don't nobody need to bring her bad news. And the older I get, I understand who does want bad news. You know what I'm saying? She wasn't wrong in that situation, but she didn't have to try to kill Dorothy and her homies. You know what I'm saying? But really though, who does want bad news? Nobody. I certainly don't. And so I just wanted to pop in to discuss, bad news. I was minding my business, and usually, you just going along doing whatever, and the bad news comes to find you, right? So recently, I was minding my business, going on about life, doing all the adulting, and I found out that one of my sisters has cancer, like a blood cancer. That's meant for old men, and everybody is shocked, was shocked. I feel like everything was kind of turned on its head. And it just was like, dang, what are we going to do with this type of news, right? Because it could be devastating. So whether it's cancer, or I talked to another friend, he said he had a lupus scare. And I was like, dang, okay, this ain't the ketchup I thought it was going to be. Man, but bad news can really be anything. Like things not going your way, you getting fired, you got to run an extra errand that you didn't think you was going to have to run, just stuff like that. And so in this time and just other times in life, I've had to really think about what to do in those situations. And I landed on a few things. That I wanted to share, discuss, and just chop it up with y'all about. So the first thing I would say I do or I've done was to sit with whatever the bad news is, right? Like whatever it is, how does it affect me at this moment? How do I feel about the bad news? Is on a scale of 1 to 10, what is it? 1, 5, 6, 7, all that other stuff. When my sister came in and said that the doctor thinks she had cancer, I feel like we just looked at each other for a little bit. Like, now mind y'all, this is the healthiest person I know. We climbed a volcano in February. So what's happening? And I could look at her and just see it in her face. And I feel like, we ain't no punks, but wow, is this life? Is this what we doing, right? We sat with it for a minute. Our village came over, you know what I'm saying? And everybody just kind of sat with the news. Maybe your bad news isn't cancer. I hope the majority of people's bad news ain't cancer, right? Sheesh. But maybe it's just something didn't go your way. What do you do? So you sit with it for a minute, figure out how you feel about it, and then you go on to the next step. And the next step is probably what matters in that actual moment. Is that moment self-care? Is that moment caring for somebody else? What is the moment asking for? Figure out what to do in the moment and what's really, really important in that moment. I think as this process goes on, I have to catch myself being negative. I think as processes go on, I feel like as you start to process whatever bad news you got or you dealing with, you basically need to catch yourself not being negative in the moment. It's parenting yourself or whatever you want to call it, right? When you feel yourself being negative, like, man, this is whack, or I shouldn't have to be doing this, or why me, or blah, blah, blah. There are plenty of things that I could probably go through. Just try to catch yourself being negative and reshape. Oh, it's only going to take me a little bit. Oh, it's still hope. All of those things that have to be switched on a dime, right? And then really making sure that you use your resources. Don't forget to use your resources because they are helpful. Like your homies that be like, hey man, you need anything? Yep. I got some bad news. I want to go out. I want to go see a movie. Resources can really be anything. So whether it's a friend, a good movie, a book, a podcast, I get lost in podcasts all the time. Playlist music is probably number one on my list, or a good heady cackle with a friend. Like that's a resource. And if the resource isn't specifically solving the problem, don't think that it's not valuable. It's still a valuable resource. It might just be a little distraction. You never know. So Evillene had a point. Don't nobody want no bad news. We really get to choose how we walk through life and how we show up. And if we just consistently go through that whole just pissed, it just genuinely doesn't help the situation. It like at all. It doesn't help the situation. And so again, I was just thinking, what do you do when you get bad news? How do you swallow that? How do you do that? Pretty crazy. Funny thing, not so funny, probably really sad because America, healthcare, insurance, all that other stuff. Anyway, so my sister's insurance doesn't cover any fertility treatments at all. Now, this wouldn't be a problem if she was a teenage mother. I know. Hear me out. All I'm saying is if she would have just leaned into, teenage mother, she would already had a baby by now. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, but anyway, we out here going a traditional route as a family, right? So she wants to have kids. I would like for her to have kids. I mean, if it's feasible, all that other stuff. But all of this treatment is hella expensive. And I know y'all know that. I feel like I finally realized why people, let me rephrase this. I know why people be starting GoFundMes and all that other stuff. But this right here, let me give y'all an idea. The medicine to begin the fertility treatment is $4,000. You mean to tell me, $4,000 for like the pill? Like it's a ridiculous situation. I looked up grants, all type of other stuff, so this lady could freeze her eggs. The grants are either not taking applications, or you got to be really poor. And it's not like we are feed the children poor, but we don't have $4,000 to spend on one pill. It's the wildest thing. You really have to choose. Anyway, I'm like, this is a rant at this point, and it ain't gonna help nothing. But I came up with a mild solution. So on my website, Oh How Joyous, I started to design merchandise that would assist in putting money into everything, the IVR treatments, all of the, like the cancer treatments, all that other stuff. And I'm hoping people will go to the website, purchase a shirt, a hoodie, whatever. And that way it's just not you getting nothing and asking for a donation. I don't know. The collection I came up with is called Faith Activated. And it really speaks to what you do when you get bad news. The faith that you have to sit with it, figure out what you need to do in that moment, and figure out what resources you need, and just be hopeful and just knock it out is wild. Yep, the collection is called Faith Activated. Go to my website. If you like it, buy a shirt. I'm just going to give all the money to her. I mean, maybe we can freeze an egg or two. I don't know. My website is ohhowjoyous.com. I'm going to go watch The Wiz. And if y'all haven't seen The Wiz, watch The Wiz. Evillene had a point. Don't nobody want no bad news. I hope y'all bad news ain't as bad as my bad news. Bless y'all. All right. As usual, don't forget to check out this episode's playlist on Spotify or YouTube by clicking the link in the bio.